everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This is Susan with Blue Vinyl Stickers. Today we're going to be separating or splitting a font to make it into a monogram. Just so you know, I do use a Silhouette Studio Business Edition. You can do this in any edition of the software that you have. No special edition needed, but I do use the Business Edition. So what I'm going to do first is start with a blank work surface here. Come up to my page setup flyout here. Click on the grid tool. Now in other versions that aren't the business tool or the designer, it may be in other sections of your screen. But this is the designer edition, so this is how it looks on mine. I'm going to go ahead and say show grid. The divisions that I have selected for most of my work is 4 divisions. Now you can make them any higher, you can make it smaller, but 4 I find is pretty good. Each one of these divisions is 1/4 inch. So if you are doing a lot of work that requires grid work, that is 1/4 inch. If you want them smaller, like I said, you can make them smaller or larger. Spacing is 1 inch, just simply because 1 inch is a lot easier to do the math. So now that we have the page set up, I'm going to go ahead and put my my flyout away. Come over here to my box tool, and I'm going to draw a rectangle. Doesn't matter what size rectangle I make. We will go ahead and change that here in a second. So let me go ahead and click my select tool, select it, and I'll make it a color that you can see. Come over here to my transform panel. Using the second icon, which is the scale tool, I want my height of my bar to be 1/4 inch. So I'm going to type in 1/4 inch, and I'm going to click the apply. And it's going to make it narrow down for me, exact. I don't like the just, well, draw a box and it'll look good. I want these to be exactly 1/4 inch, because that's what the scale on my my drawing pad here is, or my work surface. Now I want the width to be 9 inches. And so again, type it in, hit enter, and there it is. Now you can do one of two things. You can say replicate or you can say duplicate. So let's go ahead and say replicate, and I want it one below. So there it is. And here's the 2 bars. Now it doesn't matter where on your work surface you are doing your designing right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this bar up to, you see these bars? Let me move it in so you can see it a little bit better. The heavier lines are the inch markings. The little bit lighter lines are the 1/2 inch markings, and the blue lines, or the real light lines, are the 1/4 inch markings. This bar here, right on that line, put this bar here right on that line. That gives me 1 inch worth of spacing. Now if I really wanted to make sure that that was 1 inch, I could just come over here to my line and draw a line down from one to the other, and as you can see, I am so very close. So that to me is close enough. The one thing they don't have on Silhouette is a measuring tool, and I kind of wish they would kind of put that in there, because it would come in handy. But for the right now, you just draw a line and it will show you how big it is. And this will come in handy here in just a minute when we use one of the other tools. So I'm going to delete that and select them both. Come over here again to my transform tool, and I want to align them. You see they're not aligned, so I want to align them so they're nice and aligned. Let me zoom out for you. And we're going to say group. Okay, now these 2 are together. I'm going to set them off to the side. And now I'm going to find my font. So I click on my my text tool, come over to my screen, and as you can see, when I come over here to my styles, it does come up into 72 point. So I want to use, let's just use the letter M. So I'm going to use a capital M, and I'm going to highlight it, and we're going to use this one right here. Now I unselected it. Now I'm going to reselect it, and it puts all the boxes around the side. Now I can drag it or do whatever I want to. I'm going to come back over here to the transform tool, again to the size or the scale. Go ahead and lock the lock, because if you don't, you're going to end up with a font that is going to be either long or wide. We want it to stay symmetrical. But if you notice this font, this is one interesting thing about some of the fonts that you'll download and install on your machine. Some of them have extra space around them. So even though this says this is 2.847 high, it actually is only about maybe 1.5 inches. So what we need to do to get rid of this and make this exact is we need to right mouse click and release the compound path. And that actually puts the box exactly around the edge. And remember I said it was about 1.5 inches? I was correct, 1.540. So we're going to go ahead and right mouse click and say make a compound path again. And that just puts everything back together, and it's in an exact square. Now I want this to be 6 inches high. So I'm going to come over here with it locked and type in 6 and then hit my enter button. And there we go. We're at 6. Now I don't think that's big enough, so let's make it 9. Okay, there we go. Big enough for you to all see. Let me make it bigger, or let me color it in so you guys can see it. Now I'm going to come over here to the align tool, and while that's still selected, I'm going to center it and center it. Hit both of them just because. Now as you can see, this one has the M is just slightly off of that center. See, there's 6 inches here and 6 inches here. So this is going to be off just slightly. Bugs me. So I'm going to take and select it, and I'm going to move it over just a touch. Okay. Now I'm going to take these, which are my bars, and I'm going to select them both, and I'm not going to hit these, because if I do, this is going to be off again. So watch. See, moves it right off. Well, I don't want to do that. Don't want to fool with it. So undo, undo, and it doesn't matter where I put my bars. I'm going to put them in the center. So I'm going to highlight one, and I'm going to use the horizontal centering. And it moves the bars exactly where I want them. Then I'm going to use the vertical, and it's going to put it right in the center of that letter. Okay, which is perfect. Now, here's a secret. None of this, cut this out, do this, watch this. Take my pencil, and as you see the bars here, I'm just going to put a mark. Just put a mark. Okay? And go back to my select tool, because I can never remember once I move these bars where that mark is. Take them, put them up here. I'm going to grab my cut tool or my knife. Go right on that line and back over here. Now remember what I said about the measurements? Look at the measurements there. And you see when it clicks off and you don't see anything on the left hand side? Okay? Watch what will happen right here. Okay? Clicks off. Then go ahead and unselect. And it will go ahead and actually cut that for you. Same thing here. I want it right in the middle of those two. It doesn't matter where in the middle, as long as it's in the middle of that 1/4 inch box. And come over here again, and it clicks off, and click it. Come back over here to my select tool. I want to get rid of my marks. And now I'm going to hold down my left mouse key, draw a line through the center there. So all that stuff in the center is selected, and hit my delete key. And there it is. Very important. Now select all of the letter, right mouse click, and make a compound path, because everything here is all separate. So we're going to make a compound path. Grab your bars, and we're going to make them horizontal, make them vertical, So they're exactly where they were before. And now we're going to right mouse click and say weld. So now I'm going to have to do a compound path again because as you can see, it's all one piece for the top and all one piece for the bottom. So anything that was connected is welded. So we're going to say back here, select them both. I just want to make them a compound path. I know they're together. I don't have to worry about grouping, ungrouping, any of that good stuff. So let's put it back in the center here. So select it, and we're going to center it. And I'm going to come over here to my text tool again. Text tool. Put it on the bottom. There you go. So it will be centered. And I'm going to type in the word Monday, all in capital letters. And as you see, it's not wide enough. So I'm going to click on it. Come over here to my text style pattern. I'm going to click on the font that I want to use, which is, I'm going to use the same font that here for the lettering. And as you can see, it transformed it real well and put it where I want it, but it's still not big enough. So I'm going to come to the character spacing, and I'm going to stretch it out a little bit. And as you see, it stretched it out this way, but I've got all this space over here. Again, select both of them. Come back over here to your transform tool. Put it in the center. Now we're going to group it because I'm going to be moving it. And as you can see, let me put it in there. This is what your finished letter is going to look like. I can select it all now that it's grouped and make it any size that I want. Come back over here to my transform. Always lock the lock. 3.5 inches. There is your monogram. If it's a little bit wide for you, you can take it and shrink it in a little bit. You can bring it out a little bit. You can bring it higher. Whatever you want to do. But this will be the monogram that I use. Thanks. Bye for now.